You're watching News Mongolia on MNB World. I'm your host, Susanna Oktay. Good evening. For our top stories, COVID-19, 1,171 new cases were reported on Wednesday. State's tally is 33,608. Normal scheduled flight will resume starting on May 1st. Meat exports reduced fourfold since the pandemic. For other news, stay tuned. Today, on Wednesday, the Ministry of Health reported 1,171 new coronavirus cases. Experts predict that the coronavirus cases will peak in May in Mongolia.
The total number of coronavirus cases in Mongolia has now reached 33,608. On Wednesday, 1,171 new cases reported with 9 further deaths. 1,092 cases were recorded in the capital city. The total number of recovered patients is around 18,000 or 54%. Patients suffering from obesity, diabetes, or chronic diseases are more likely to experience severe symptoms. The number of recorded deaths in Mongolia as of today is 97. The data shows that average age of perished patients is 65 and most of them were women. Among the total number of patients in hospital, 56% are showing mild symptoms. In past weeks, a high number of children and teenagers were affected by the infection, which is becoming a big concern. There are now over 6,000 children diagnosed with COVID-19. Most of them are aged between 10 and 18. Children are more likely to be silent spreaders of the coronavirus with no or mild symptoms. The vaccination rollout is continuing nationwide. Starting from today, people aged above 18 are getting their first shots according to the schedule. The data from Johns Hopkins University shows that global coronavirus cases have reached 148 million. The total number of confirmed deaths is over 3 million. The country with the highest number of COVID-19 cases is the US with 32 million, followed by India with 18 million and Brazil with 14 million cases.
Mongolia is opening its air border starting from May 1st. Normal scheduled flights will resume. Mongolia is estimated to welcome around 3,000 passengers a month based on the availability of COVID-19 isolation houses.
Starting from May 1st, chartered flights are shifting into scheduled flights. The Civil Aviation Authority stated that now it will require fewer materials for upcoming Mongolian citizens, as the process was troublesome during the repatriation flights. Now passengers can directly order their tickets from ticketing offices. Once passengers arrive in Mongolia, they will be isolated for a week for coronavirus testing. A full payment for an isolation house is required before ordering the ticket. The accommodation price is 50,000 Mongolian tugruks per day.
The number of scheduled flights will be set in accordance with the availability of isolation houses. The total price for an isolation home is 360,000 Mongolian tugruks for a week. There are also some expensive hotels with various prices. Passengers have the option to stay in those hotels.
According to the calculation of Civil Aviation Authority, Mongolia would be able to receive about 400,000 tourists in 2021 if the pandemic is under control.
Starting this year, about 30,000 histories of credit labeled as non-performing loans during the pandemic. Experts say the amnesty of taxes and social insurance premiums should be given to entities with bad debts.
The number of businesses that are suffering from non-performing loans is over 8,000. This means they are no longer able to borrow any more money. Also, in the first quarter of 2021, around 21,000 entities created a total of 120 billion Mongolian tugruк social insurance premium debt.
In order to continue the relationship between the International Monetary Fund, Mongolia has the obligation to increase social insurance premiums annually. Also, other taxes have increased. But in the current situation, we have to revise our monetary policy. If not, the number of non-performing loans will continue to grow further. You can say we have come to the lowest point. Therefore, we believe the amnesty of taxes and social insurance premium should be given to entities with bad debts.
Most of the business owners got loans from commercial banks at an annual interest of 19 to 21%. Experts say the solution might be the categorization of loans taken out before and after the pandemic and provide entities with a certain amount of discount.
The loans should be categorized in three groups: regular loan, loan during COVID-19 pandemic, and loan during vaccination process. Regular loans must be reduced by 5 to 10 points step by step through an amendment to the law. Regular loans still have an annual interest rate of 19 to 21%. However, they might not be operating anymore. So we believe those three types of categorizing is the best solution.
The pandemic has a direct impact on economic growth. Even though businesses have lost their normal operation, data shows that business owners have a higher expectation of sales revenue in the second quarter of this year compared to last year.
And here are the currency exchange rates provided by Bank. In the first quarter of 2021, Mongolia exported 13.7 tons of meat. This amount is 4 times less compared to the same period last year, right before the pandemic began.
Among the total amount of meat exported, 51% is goat meat, 20% is horse meat, and another 20% is mutton, and 10% is beef. Since the beginning of 2021, 70% of total exported meat was heat-treated meat. Experts say domestic meat resources have been prepared enough for this year. Therefore, there won't be any difficulty in increasing the amount of meat to be exported. The Ministry of Food, Agriculture and Light Industry says it has planned to sell abroad about 30,000 tons of meat this year.
The peak export season is from September to December. At that time, we plan to increase our exports by considering last year's risks and issues.
The average price of 1 kilogram of meat is about 20,000 Mongolian tugruks on the foreign market. At the southern border with China, 1 truck loaded with meat brings a profit equal to 4 trucks loaded with coal. In other words, meat exports are highly beneficial to the Mongolian economy.
When it comes to profit, meat is just as important as coal. The profit from meat exports also benefits herders' income. Another advantage is that mainly lean meat is used for the heat treatment. Therefore, livestock isn't required to be fat and bulky.
Last year, Mongolia sold 38.3 thousand tons of meat to foreign markets, generating $92 million of revenue. In the first quarter of 2021, Mongolia exported around 14 tons of meat. Until the end of 2021, 20 more tons of meat is planned to be exported to the international market.
Analysts say the change in the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic caused a change in the housing prices. They have been reducing in previous years, but today they are increasing.
Mukirtan's family recently got their own apartment. They chose the most valuable location in the city and bought it at a relatively high price compared to the current average. Because housing, he said, is an important choice that doesn't happen very often in his life. Housing prices, which are growing at 8 to 10% a year, have risen even during the pandemic. The price of a new apartment was 2,400,000 Mongolian tugruks in March last year, but today it is 2,472,000 Mongolian tugruks.
In March, housing prices increased to 2,570,000, or by about 120,000. This growth will continue. In particular, experts say that once the price of materials have risen, it's clear that construction prices will rise in the future.
The housing price index rose 9.4% in February compared to a month earlier. This growth is expected to continue. This is because the mortgage interest rate has dropped to 6%, depending on the fact that the supply of mortgage loans is not less than 1 trillion Mongolian tugruks. Over the next year, nominal housing prices will increase by 10 to 15% and real housing prices by 5 to 7%. There's also a long-term increase due to rising costs of construction materials.
There's no way we can control the price of housing and materials. Due to this, there is no possibility of reducing the price as all the imported rebar and other materials have increased in price. Even domestically produced bricks and cement have risen in price by about 10%. It's impossible to reduce housing prices in the future.
Our country has been growing steadily since October 2020, when mortgage interest rates fell from 8% to 6%. Economists also warn that the housing bubble could hurt the economy in the future.
And here's the weather forecast for the world's major cities. Well, that's all for today. Thank you for staying with us. We'll see you on Thursday with more stories and updates. Please follow MNB World on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. Have a nice evening. Goodbye.